Hello, everybody. Stephanie here. Oh, it's so much darker than I thought it was. So sorry about that. You'll hear me. You might not get to see me very well. Greetings from Mikasa. Um, the kids are in bed and I'm being a little loud. I hope I don't. I'm sure they're not quite asleep yet. They should be asleep. But I have one. I don't know if you all have one of those kids that tries to stay up. I hear one in there rustling around, so we'll try not to get him up. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. So today's daily drop is down but not out. That's why I tell people, don't count me out. I'm one of those who work hard, play hard, and I chill hard. And so I've had to take a little time to retract, to refocus and move forward. So maybe when we're done with this, we'll all be a little more essentially enlightened this evening. So I debated going live this evening. I don't know. It used to be so much easier for me to like just grab the phone wherever I'm at and go live. And perhaps I'm growing a little bit in that being present in the moment that I forget to do that. And then also just with current circumstances, my head has just not been in it, nor has my heart been in it. And so anyway, I thought about it last night and it was about 10 o'clock. It's about the same time it is now. And I was like, oh, it's a little late to do that. And I was working on something else yesterday evening. And so anyway, I never did get around to it, obviously. And Tuesdays are community day. It's the day that we work with the youth Elevate, which is our youth student enrichment program. And today was a big day for them because we take the kids who participated and volunteered in Elevate Christmas for a celebration, and we take them bowling. And so we had our bowling party tonight, and I think we had 25 kids, or maybe there was 25 of us all together. But I think there were, because the extra kids came in later. So there was about 25 kids, and there were 6 adults. It was a little bit, I'm making sure anybody was asking me a question. It was just a little bit stressful, a little bit chaotic. And anyway, it worked out. It was a good time, and it was really nice to just go and enjoy it. Because a lot of times with the Elevate program, our mission, of course, for CORE is working together for a better today. And for Elevate, for the student enrichment, it's more about forging real relationships with these kids. And people always ask, well, what's your target population? And, I guess the bylaws say at risk. And people will ask you to sometimes define what at risk is. And for us, all students, all kids are at risk at some point to all things. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's really no way, there's no child that isn't at some type of risk of situations or decisions most of the time that we don't want them to make. It just is the world that we live in. But that's, we forge these relationships, and so usually on Tuesday nights, we're here at our place where we meet every week, and we're feeding them a hot meal, and we're trying to teach them the life lessons, and we have try to have a good time, and we always tell them, because we want to give them good principles. It's always principles first, and we work hard again and then play hard. And if we can't get through the work or whatever the lesson is or whatever we're doing that day with them, then we can't get to the part to have fun. And most of the time if we get to the part to have fun, it's short because we've had to keep these kids in line. And it does again give me much respect for all of you out there who's working in the education system, because I have them one night a week for a couple hours, and I just cannot imagine what it's like to have to do that all day, every day, because the same respect or healthy fear, whatever it was that we had for adults, it really is not in them. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine over at the Y that last week when we met, I asked where one of our older kids was, and the answer that I got was just blatantly honest. And you know, we're really real with these kids, and so Dylan and Alex, they were like, we would have never been that honest with an adult. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's good or bad. I'm kind of glad that they feel comfortable enough with us to be honest, but it's like, is that a disrespect thing? I'm still trying to figure that out. um, I still have, obviously, it's quite funny, and I would really like to get into what was said, but I'm not going to, in fear that anonymity will go out the window. And what happens in our walls, stay in our walls, and we don't, so if some of my kids are watching, I seriously mean that, and I see I see my oldest child tuning in, Chance, and he'll speak for that. Trust is a big thing with us, and it's impossible to forge real relationships with these kids, young adults, and and then call them out or whatever. So I'm not going to do that. But and anyway, is an interesting, it was an interesting insight, and so. So now I'm afraid to ask questions tonight. Well, some of the older ones were not invited to come along this evening because of some behavior things that have happened recently, and that's it. It's like we hold these kids accountable, and look, we're not doing them any favors if we letting them get by with stuff and then rewarding them for other things. So it is what it is. I don't know how I got into all of that, but I'm a little frazzled from this evening. Oh gosh. And so, okay, let me share. So yes, I'll probably get around to talking about Dirty Dog, and I may not, but so I'm standing, we ordered Little Caesars because it was a last minute situation with the food, and we always like to feed the kids, and so I stop and I should have not said where. I just won't say which one. How about that? So I call and I order it, and I have them tell them what time I'm going to pick it up, and so I'm like giving my kids the lecture about the germs right now and the seriousness of the flu, and like, I don't want to catch your hands. And I was like, as a matter of fact, there's a spot right out in front. So I was like, I'm going to lock the door and turn the car on. I'm going to go in and pick up the pizzas. They should be ready. And I go in there, and there's these two guys, and they were clearly strung out. And I was quite entertained by the conversation, or the attempt of conversation they were having ahead of me, and trying to order food. And I'm like, I'll just want to pick up my pizzas. They're ready. And there's like 25 workers there, and they only have this one register open, and I'm trying not to get frustrated. And about the time the one says, "Oh nah," you're like, oh no, something's going down. And the girlfriend comes in of the other one, and they get into this. I mean, I'm talking like, and I'm standing within a foot of these people, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna knock him in the head. And I won't get into the words that were exchanged because it was just not pretty. And like there's lots of people behind me waiting for their food that obviously hadn't called it in ahead. And she pulls out a taser. And I'm like, what do you do in this situation? Because if it was a gun, I mean, you obviously call the police. And like several people who you know had ordered their food and paid, and they're just waiting for it, just left. And I'm like, what am I learning in my yoga practice here? I'm just not even going to be bothered or affected by this. It has nothing to do with me. And this is the most ironic and bizarre thing I have ever encountered in my entire life. So anyway, I just walked over to the other register, and I was like, can you please just let me pay for my pizzas? They're right there. I've got to go. And yeah, that was so interesting. I mean, I say to people all the time, I really don't go looking for things. It's just really interesting what unfolds naturally on my path right in front of me. And I was so glad that I had enough, because I normally would not leave my kids in the car, but I trusted my instinct to leave them in there, because that might have scared the crap out of them. Like, because if you've heard a taser fire, and she got him. So what I failed to say is she got him a little bit. ladies, or everybody, I'll let you all figure out where she got him a little bit. And the guy was like, oh my God. And I mean, just enough. Anyway, I'm not even going to get into all that. it's bizarro, insane insanity. So that is what started this insane evening. And then with all these other kids. And it just, oh, how grateful I am to be at home right now. And everybody's quiet, even if they're not asleep. I'm not even mad about it. It's like, just thank you for this opportunity for peace. So, interesting things on a Tuesday night. I'm, down and not out. So I have been, here I'm like, oh, you make these plans and life laughs. It's, I've said for years now, I'm going to get a tattoo on my arm that says, I plan, God laughs. As a recovering type A and like control freak, I do. I fully see the beauty in going with the flow and not getting too caught up when things don't go my way. But let's try to be more consistent with this vlog. And then last week, so we ended up having to put the dog down on Wednesday, I think it was, and it was, of course, not an easy decision. And Neil had said from the beginning, when she started kind of going downhill, it's been 34 years ago, that he didn't want her to suffer. They raised boxers, and he had been through something, and he didn't want that to happen. And several times he's thought that this would be it, and it wasn't. The vet says she still has quality of life. And anyway, long story short, just the way that it unfolded and happened was certainly not according to plan, but it was exactly what we all needed as a family. And the experience was not easy, and we did not avoid it. And so with all of the grief that I have experienced in my life, we've had personal losses with pregnancy. We run a support group called Forget Me Not for mothers who have lost pregnancies and infants, and we've been surrounded by that, and so we have personally gone through that, which I thought gave me a good understanding of grief. I've been through countless grief classes about grief in my master's and my undergrad, and thought I had good understanding. And then we had the year of perpetual grief, which if you don't know, I'm not even going to go through all of that, but there's a blog in Essentially Enlightened. You can go and look at it, a year of perpetual grief, and that talks about that. And that was one of the toughest years of my life. And I thought, that's why I said, like, I thought that I understood grief. I thought that I had experienced grief, but nothing had prepared me for that year. And, you think you get a foothold with it. And I've said for years after that, grief is this ugly beast. And so here we are in a different situation, a different time, different, and I know some people, and probably until this has happened to us personally, may have discounted the depth of feeling because it's an animal. I'm not sure that's really the word that I want to use, discount, but maybe didn't, I don't know. And I guess until you've gone through it, you don't have the ability to empathize. I mean, sympathize, absolutely. But anyway, with the yoga studies and my teacher training that we're going through, a lot of it is talking about that all life is preparation for death, the acceptance of death. And that, it talks about the yin and the yang. It talks about two sides of every coin. And one side of the coin is life, the other side is death. Life, one side of the coin is suffering, the other one is freedom. One side is joy, the other is anger, or is it laughter? Whatever it is, and anger. And, and you go back and forth with that. And that is everything in life. And that's where we find balance, is there on the side of that coin. But that, one cannot exist without the other. And, so it was just really interesting to go through the situation and to deal with grief again with a whole fresh set of eyes and a different perspective. And one of the things that, and I don't know if it's in the books that I'm reading for my yoga studies, or somehow I've accumulated a whole new library, but that in the West, we really far remove ourselves from death. That, once a loved one dies, like, they go to the funeral, home, like, and they prep them and whatever. But, you know, back in the day, they used to bring the loved one into the house, even onto the kitchen table, and, you know, and they left them there until the visitation. It was not something that we were far removed from. You know, whatever it be that far removed it, whether it be convenience, whether it be, you know, not technology is not the word that I'm looking for, but, you know, they had new ways of embalming and all these other things and whatever it be. And, you know, it's an industry in itself, the funeral business. And, you know, in the way, like, there's rules of how we can now discard of human remains and all of this stuff. Anyway, it is far removed us from death itself. And I was saying, so my thought beforehand was, I'm sure then that's why grief is so drawn out, why we get stuck in it. I'm, you know, working with a lot of folks on a professional level, in private practice. You see people really get stuck in the rut of grief. And you can see how that can be so. So I was saying, to Neil, like, we really need to go through this together as a family. And everything, we're all or none in this scenario too. How can we not be? And never did I think that we would stay through the whole process. And I don't want to get into all of that because it was a beautiful moment. And I just kind of feel that some things are sacred, and this is one of those things. But in the aftermath, it gave us the ability to talk openly about it, and to, like, it has just opened up so many natural lessons, organic lessons, which are the ones that stick the longest, if you know what I mean. And so it really is, like, has it made the grief any less? I don't know, but it certainly has shown me that there are two sides to it. So I now have to say that grief is a beautifully ugly beast. It's still not pretty to go through, but at the same time, there's some, you know, it's what I was telling Jacob, is that instead of, like, yes, it hurts, yes, your heart is broken, yes, it's sad, but at the same time, if the depth of love was not there, the depth of hurt would not be there. And for all of us, that makes so much sense. And going back, so if you have been through grief and you're going through grief, you know that any amount of grief, it comes out of nowhere. Sometimes it takes over like waves, especially anniversaries of things. But every loss that we had that year would compound the grief, is what I'm trying to say. So, like, it's kind of like opening the wound all over again to all grief. And so just a really interesting, and I'm still trying to, like, process the whole thing, but, you know, it was important for us to take some time to ourselves. We did keep the kids home Friday and close, so that there could be, if questions come up, that we would be the ones to answering them, so that there would not be any more confusion, or, you know, you never know what people are going to say to console. Oh, I have heard them all. That is one of the books that we are writing, is what's appropriate to say and what's not. And there needs to be one of those. There has got to be a manual for us humans to go through this grieving process. You know, death is such a taboo subject for most people. So, it's not interesting. It's humorous what some people will come up with to say. So, but anyway, that was the reason we kept them home. And so we've kept close and, down but not out. So we, you know, the kids wanted to bury Dirty on the property instead of have her cremated, and so we obliged to that. And, you know, it's one of those things that are bittersweet, and you know, completely at peace. All of us still are about it, and I don't know. So yes, a lot of people have asked, and I appreciate all of you who've messaged privately and asked how we were doing, and sent text messages and mails, and left phone calls. And thank you for understanding why I've kind of been off the grid, and for all the support and love we've felt, every bit of it. And it just again is proof that our vibe attracts our tribe, and I have never been more grateful for the tribe that surrounds us. I feel the love, and I feel and understand deeply how blessed that we are. So thank you to all of you for that. going forward. Like, it's like there's 1,000 things going on. We have one that's playing basketball, we have one that's dancing, we have Jacob's taking a little break from everything right now. He's got stuff going on at school, but teacher training is back in full swing, and I've been in the hot throes of like learning how to teach things. And so I don't know, it's just an interesting time of our lives, where it seems like every day is a new discovery. And again, just super grateful for the people who I'm surrounded with. Like, and does that mean that they're not those people who drive me crazy? Absolutely. Or that there's not, because there is. Those of you who are in my immediate community, I'm not even going to say, because y'all know where I'm going with this, or I'm not even going to go there. But there's still drama, and there's still challenges, and there's still all of those things. But, I don't know, sometimes you just get to a point where you're in a season of your life that it's like, this stuff is just real. It's, it is really not that serious. And, Jonah had a meltdown last night over his device, and I was like, if it's going to be this serious, we probably need to just think about doing away with that altogether, the device. Because it's just really not that serious. And he's, you could tell that, like, he's like, we've really been through a hard time recently, and it's not that serious. Like, I could see it, like, run across him like a ticker across his head. I'm like, yeah, it's just not that serious. And, the truth of what is really important, and that's love, and that's, kindness, and being present in the moment, and not taking for granted 1 second that we've been given, and that's also knowing that every moment is another moment to start over if you've forgotten how precious this present moment is. God willing, you have a next present moment to relish in. So, down but not out. Whatever situation you are maybe going through, and you may feel down, just realize that you're not out, and that sometimes being down is exactly where you need to be to prepare for the next season that's coming, or for the next challenge that you may face, or for the next rest of peace, because aren't we all just looking for that, those moments of peace? But no, you're not out. It's just it just is what it is, and trying to fight every bit of it only makes life more miserable and brings more suffering. And so again, I keep going back to that, and I'm not even sure, I don't know if it was Buddha, I don't know if it was Thich Nhat Hanh. I'm trying to think where I read the original quote. Ended up buying a book that's called No Mud, No Lotus. And that's what it was talking about, is like, you cannot have life without suffering, and the only way to not to free yourself from suffering is to not be attached to things so tightly. And so it has definitely just kind of taken the pressure off for all of us. Like, not that this morning though, there was the pressure, because we were trying to rush out the door and get the kids to school, and I was like, and how do you find detachment from that and not get riled up? That's what, when we got in the car, and I was like, do we really need to do this 180 days out of every year? Like, we all know we need to get ready. We're all capable of getting ourselves ready. Do we need to go through this? We're all going to end up at school. So, perhaps we still have to do this every day, but maybe having that conversation once we get in the car will teach them, maybe model some of that, maybe instill some of this into them. I don't know. We do the best that we can as parents and as people. Maybe not always, maybe we're not aware of it, but hopefully we're all trying to be the best that we can. So, down but not out. So whatever situation it is, that's tonight. Neil was like, "It's your turn to bowl," and I was like, "I'm just done." Like, I don't remember. I don't even know what they're called. How many times I went up. I was like, "I'm just done. I'm done. I don't want to bowl anymore." I just kind of wanted to be present with all of the kids that were present tonight, and just make sure that they know how special that they are, and that how much we really do appreciate them, and that I just wonder for you kids. I see several of you tuned in of my original Elevate kids. Did we do that with you all? Were we too busy going from one thing to the other, and like, do you know what I mean? And not like, I hope that we did you guys the service of letting you all know just how important and special you all are, and how much we appreciated you then, and how much we still appreciate you now. But tonight, I just that was really big, was weighing heavy on my heart, that some of those kids just really needed to know that. And so some of y'all may need to know that too out there, that's, who you are does elevate others. So be aware of that. Because it can do the opposite as well. Remember the two sides of the coin. So it's the potential is there. Let us use our time for good and for the positive. Because again, the next moment is not promised. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. I could continue to ramble on, and I just don't feel like there's anything else that needs to be said this evening. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. I really do appreciate all the support. Again, it's been felt and it's been received, and what a lovely experience to have. And again, I keep going back to how my life used to be and how my life is now, and boy, it's hard not to just be grateful and thankful. So much love to you all. Deepest blessings. Legs out.